everybody, welcome again to another wonderful video. So this video is for the NEET aspirants very specifically. So in this video I'll be talking about what are the best book that you have to follow for your NEET biology preparation, very specifically zoology, and what are the most important topic that you should never skip in zoology. Of course we know about NCERT book, and very specifically I'm going to talk about certain things you have to study a bit extra when we talk in case of human physiology and certain units. So I'm going to list out the topics that you should never ever miss and what are those important topics. First, let's start off with what is the best books or that you have to definitely need to follow. The first is going to be of course our NCERT book. So you have to follow NCERT 11th book. This is the 11th book, and NCERT 12th book. This is the 12th book, and the next is going to be objective NCERT at your fingertips. Here you will be having NCERT based MCQs. You'll be having problem questions, MCQ questions, and previous year questions. Everything will be there. So these are the most important questions or important books very specifically, which will have a lot of important questions. So accordingly you can plan and you can start. These are mandatory books. If you want to learn something extra, then you can definitely go for, but this is very important books. Okay, now let's talk about what are the important topics when we talk in case of zoology. So I'll be talking about the chapters and units in 11th and 12th zoology. So in 11th we are going to have unit number 1, unit 2 and unit 3. Some of the topics are going to be for zoology. So unit 1 is diversity in living world. So here you're going to have only animal kingdom. There are 4 chapters. So the last one is going to be animal kingdom. So animal kingdom comes under zoology. In unit number 2, structural organization in plants and animals, chapter 3, structural organization in animals comes under zoology. And unit number 3, cell structure and function, chapter 2, biomolecule comes under zoology. And all the human physiology chapters like 1 to 7 chapters like digestion, breathing, body fluids in circulation, excretory products and its eliminations, locomotion and its movement, neural control, chemical coordination, endocrinology. So all these things will come under zoology. So this is for the 11th portions, and for the 12th you're going to have unit number 6, reproduction, except sexual reproduction in flowering plants. All other comes under zoology. Chapter 1, reproduction in organism. Chapter 3, human reproduction. Chapter 4, reproductive health. All these things comes under. And genetics and evolution, molecular basis and principle of inheritance will come in botany. Evolution comes in zoology. So we have zoology. And biology and human welfare, you will be having human health and diseases and strategies for enhancement in food production. These two comes under zoology, and of course biotechnology unit comes under this, biotechnology principle and processes, and the next chapter is application. This will comes in zoology part. Okay, so first let's talk about the unit number 1, animal kingdom. What are the things you have to learn? So animal kingdom is going to be very vast, and I'm going to tell you in animal kingdom the examples which is given for each of the phylum. Only that is enough. You don't have to read any other examples apart from it, and the images which is given in the animal kingdom are really important, along with the figures which will be written at the bottom. And how you can study this is study the basic outline of how animals are actually categorized. You have to go in for what is the symmetry, what is the coelom, what is the diploblastic or triploblastic, all segmentations, whether they have a notochord or not, all these things you have to study it, and then put all the phylums according to this one, and then write the example in the form of a tabulation along with the examples. And here what you have to do, you're going to study all the phylums very specifically, starting from phylum Porifera, the most primitive phylum, Coelenterata, Ctenophora, Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Hemichordata, Chordata. In Chordata, you'll be talking about vertebrata, and we'll be talking about gnathostomes, agnathostomes, and you have to study about the type of piscis, cartilaginous fishes, and then bony fishes, all these things, and then amphibians, reptiles, aves, mammals, all these things. Most importantly, the examples which is given beneath this mammalia, aves, reptilia, amphibians will be asked in the examination. So when you're going to study this unit, study in the form of a tabulation with all the images, with all the example. You don't have to study any other example. Animal kingdom is very easy if you're going to keep revising it. So animal kingdom is going to be unit number 1. which is diversity in living world. The second is going to be structural organization in animals. So this is one of the important unit, basic unit I can say. Here you will be studying about all the tissues very specifically. We'll be talking about the epithelial tissues, the simple tissues, compound tissues, stratified tissues, connective tissues. So we'll be talking about all the type of tissues, and we'll also be talking about the type of muscles. Like we'll be talking about the smooth muscles, the cardiac muscles. We'll be talking about these muscle types also. And then the most important thing is cockroach. In cockroaches, you have to go each of these sections in study the structure of the cockroach based on the anatomy of this one, as well as you have to remember the morphology of the cockroaches also. In anatomy, you'll be studying the digestive system, respiratory system in detail, which is not that much detailedly given in our book, but you have to study this. Circulatory system, excretory system, nervous system. Male reproductive system is given in our book in cockroaches, female reproductive system is given. So cockroaches occupies a major portion in this one, along with the images which is given in the book, like connective tissues, simple epithelium, compound epithelium, columnar epithelium, stratified epithelium. You have to study all these things. The third unit is going to be cell structure and function. In this, you have to study biomolecules. In biomolecules, we'll be starting with the basics of what are the molecules that you will be seeing in the pellet and the supernatant. That will be a question. What are micromolecules? What are macromolecules based on the molecular weight and based on the separations you'll be studying. And then we'll be talking about what is an amino acid, what is a protein, what is going to be a nucleotide, nucleoside, nucleic acid, metabolisms, what is catabolism, anabolism, and then little bit of energetics. Everything we'll be studying in biomolecules. Biomolecules, you have to study the structure little bit more. So the tabulation, whichever is given in the biomolecules, are very, very important. You have to check in for the biomolecules because we had questions from that, like proteins, collagens will be given. So remember whatever is given in the tabulations also. The next most important, highest weightage is going to be human physiology, which will definitely help for your medicine. Of course, you're going to study MBBS, future doctors. So you need human physiology. So study human physiology very, very carefully. So in digestion absorption, we'll be studying about the digestive system. First, alimentary canal. So you have to study about the dental formula, that is oral cavity in the teeth. And then you have to study about the structure from starting from this upper respiratory tract, and you have to study till the anus part. And what is the history of gut? Very specifically, you have to study about the swallowing pattern. Most importantly, the glands which are present in it. And what are the glands? What are the secretions that's going to be? And some digestive accessory glands. And how saliva, pH, everything you have to study. Gastric secretions. And in pancreas, what are the substances that are produced, like Clancy, remember like that. And then remember gastric secretion, bile secretions, how the absorption of all this digested material are going to take place in the blood as well as in the lymphatic system. And finally, the disorders will be given in the book. The next is going to be breathing and exchange of gases. Most important, study second and the chapter 3 together. So you'll be studying about the trachea, lungs very specifically in all the anatomy of the lungs and all the volumes. All the volumes are very, very important. Study this in the form of a graph. And then exchange of gases and transport of gases, which has a correlation with chapter number 3. And regulation of respiration. And finally, we'll be studying about the disorders also. So you just stick on to whatever disorder is there. Sometimes look on to the previous year question paper where they ask questions also and plan it accordingly. The next one is body fluids and circulation. After that, come back to body fluids. You have to definitely study about the classification of blood. What are the blood grouping, RH typing, and blood clotting factors. And then what is going to be the heart anatomy, the external part, the internal part. What are the organs that are present in it. And then how a double circulation actually takes place in a human body, what is lub and dub, what is going to be the cardiac cycle, one cardiac cycle, and how human heart works, very importantly, ECG, and all the disorders, coronary artery disease, atherosclerosis, hypertension, everything. And there are many, many disorders you have to study for body fluids and circulation. It's not only which is given in the book. The next one, excretory products and circulation. So here you have to study about the nitrogenous excretory products, which are monotellic animal, ureotellic animal, uricotellic animals, and what is osmoregulation. And you have to study directly on the structure of the kidney, external structure, anatomy, everything you have to study. you have to study about the neurons, pulmonary neurons. You have to go in for you have to go for juxtamedullary ones. Everything you have to study, and then you will be talking about the formation of urine, how a urine is actually formed, and what are the ultrafiltration, what is glomerular filtration, and then you have to study about how a urine is concentrated, what is GFR. Everything you have to study, and then you have to go and study about the counter current mechanism, most important one, very easy one if you're going to understand it. And finally, renin angiotensin aldosterone system, which we call it RAS mechanism, and finally micturition reflex. And you can also study the disorders. And the next is locomotion and movement. Here you will be studying about the skeletal muscles. So most important one, the sliding filament theory. Here you will be talking about the myosin filament, the actin filament, what happened to the sarcomeres, and then we'll be talking about what are the parts of the skeleton, most important, how many bones are there, how many bones are actually present in axial skeleton, appendicular skeletons, and vertebral columns, sternums, ribs, everything together. This you can study it in the form of pictures, in the form of PPTs. And then girdles, because you can visualize it, cartilages, joints, synovial joints, and even you can study all the things together very easily. Next is neural. It is very easy thing in neural one. So you will be talking about what is action potential, most important question. Synapses, and you will be studying about the spinal cord, the brains, midbrain, hindbrain, diencephalon, cerebrum, and then sleep pattern, and then ventricles will not be a very big question. You can skip that. And then you have to study ANS and PNS, and very importantly, human eye, human ear is very, very important. The next one is chemical coordination integration, which is endocrinology. I would suggest studying it from hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and study what are the hormones that are secreted by the hypothalamus, which is the regulatory ones, and then it will be stimulating the pituitary glands, or we can say, and finally it will lead to the other hormones and what are the hormones that are released. So you can start off from the hypothalamus hormones, anterior part of the pituitary, posterior part of the pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, what's the role of calcitonins. You have to study adrenal medulla, in that adrenal cortex, and then pineal glands you have to study thymus, and GI hormones. This GI hormones you will be studying in digestive system also, and gonadotrophin hormones and pancreatic hormone. The last mechanism which is given in our book is hormones 1. This also you have to study. So I would not suggest skipping anything in human physiology, which will definitely going to help you a lot. So start off with human physiology. Next is reproduction. Reproduction in organism, human reproduction, reproductive health come in zoology. So reproductive in organism is very simple. If you're going to study the kingdom Monera and the previous first unit and the second unit and the third unit, it will be very easy for you to understand. So modes of reproduction, sexual, asexual reproduction, of course vegetative reproduction, you can study it under asexual, binary fission, sporulation, budding, gemule formation, and fragmentation, and examples are very, very important. For this chapter, I would suggest just stick on to your NCERT book only. Human reproduction, very simple one. Male-female reproductive system, gametogenesis, oogenesis, spermatogenesis, very, 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 very important. And menstrual cycle, in oogenesis you have to study it properly because it starts off when the baby is formed itself. And how the fertilization takes place, how a blastula stage is formed, and how this blastula change is going to be implanted into the uterus, and then how a pregnancy happens, how parturition happens, and lactation. So in this part, you can actually correlate with chemical coordination, where we will be studying about the hormones, prolactins. So, and you have to remember all these things together. So you can study human reproduction along with the chemical control and coordination also. Next is reproductive health. So you will have very direct questions from here, and always repeated questions will be keep on coming. Sexually transmitted disease, birth control contraceptions or MTP, and amniocentesis, infertility, and some assistant reproductive technology like in vitro fertilization, ZIFT and GIFT. You can go in for this one also. And for evolution, so I will, people who want to skip can skip, but do not skip certain things like Hardy-Weinberg's principle and natural selections, gene flow, genetic drifts, Darwin's theory, and modern synthetic theory. This you should never skip. At least finish this one. And human evolution, if it's easy for you, you can see it in the form of an image, and then you can study this one. The next is going to be biology and human welfare. So human health and diseases, very, very important thing I'm going to tell you. It's going to be very easy if you're going to make it in the form of a tabulation. What are the organism, what type of disease, and what's going to be the life cycle. You're going to study in that way. So you have to study all the pathogens: typhoid, what's the organism, pneumonia, common cold, malaria, very specifically the image which is given in our book, Plasmodium life cycle, Ascariasis, elephantiasis, ringworms, and most important, immunity. What is innate immunity? What is going to be acquired immunity? The structure of antibody which is given in the book. And then active immunity, passive immunity, vaccination, immunization, active immunization, passive immunization, allergy, of course, AIDS. And the immune system is given, lymph nodes are given. Just look into it. The last part is like, remember the drugs which is given in the book. That's important. So you can definitely score a lot in human health and diseases if you study in the form of a tabulation. The next is very simple: animal husbandry, plant breeding, single cell protein, most important, tissue culture. You can expect pluripotency questions in this one. Of course, biotechnology, most easy one if you're going to understand it. If you're not understanding, see it in the form of a video. You can really understand how a recombinant DNA technology functions, what are the steps involved in it, and of course, application. Most important is application. How it is useful in agriculture, medicine, how insulin can be produced, how vaccines are produced these days, how it is helpful in stem cell therapy, gene therapy, genetically modified organism like Bacillus thuringiensis. So you can study this along with the biology in human welfare, which is in botany. BT crops, transgenic animals, biosafety, biopiracy, and patents. So if I have to summarize all these things, I will be suggesting few important things how you can follow it. So first, I say is like you can start off with human physiology only first. So start off with human physiology. When you're studying chemical coordination and integration, you can take up human reproduction. So when you finish human reproduction, then you go for reproductive health. Reproduction in organism, you can study it separately. And then you can come back to the animal kingdom. And then you can come back to structural organization in animals and then biomolecules. And then you can go for evolution. If you can skip evolution at the last and study. And human health, definitely never miss this unit. You can miss even strategies in food production. You can study it within 1 or 2 days. And biotechnology, never ever skip. So today we've been talking about what are the best books and what are the most important topics for NEET Zoology. I believe that this video is helpful for you. If you have any questions regarding NEET, we are ready to help you from Biotecnika. Thank you all of you for joining, and I'm going to meet you back again with another wonderful video. Thank you all of you.